The Cuphead.exe slash Threefolding knockout mod just dropped, and this mod is actually a cover of the Triple Trouble song from the Sonic.exe mod. But what a lot of people don't know is that Cuphead.exe actually has a creepypasta attached to him that is actually very, very dark. So get out of here now if you don't want Cuphead ruined. The narrator starts off the creepypasta like this. He says, "Warning, the following story actually happened to me. Please do not do what I described doing in the following story. I wish I had this knowledge beforehand." So just this past Wednesday, I was delighted to discover that the new game Cuphead had released. I had been anticipating it for quite a while and its existence had slipped my mind. I had recently been at a friend's house and saw him play it on the Xbox One, but I never actually got the opportunity to play it myself. I'm not proud to admit it, but I didn't want to spend money on the game. Normally I do try to purchase indie games to support the developers, but I had recently made a purchase to repair my car's transmission, so I was low on cash. I wasn't entirely familiar with how to pirate video games. My friend's older brother had told me how to do it before, but I didn't recall the website he had shown me. I knew it was something like Black Skull Games, so that's what I googled. I clicked the first site that wasn't an ad and was greeted with a page that looked straight out of the early 1990 days of the internet, or worse, the dark web. The stark black page contained only three things: a search bar, Arial text displaying the name of the page titled Skull Black Gaming, and an image of a real skull that had been spray painted black. Clearly taken with a digital camera, it was unsettling to think someone's actual skull had been defaced. However, it was possible it could have been a fake. So I brushed it off and began to search. Cuphead, I typed into the search bar, and quickly pressed the enter key, impatiently wanting to play the game right now. The first and only result was text displaying the word Cuphead Early Copy 2015. I was stunned. This wasn't the newest, most polished copy of the game, but it was a rare opportunity to play an older version of a game that had been in development for a long time. Not only that, but 2015 was when I had been most interested in the game's development, and it appeared as though the file had been uploaded to the site that very year. If only I had known this at the time, I could have been playing it years before everyone else. I quickly hit the download button and it instantly appeared in my download box. Cuphead.exe. I double clicked it and was shocked to hear the blaring alarm from my antivirus software. I quickly turned it off as I knew pirated games often set off the software, as my friend's brother had told me. The game began loading and I was greeted with the logo of the game company, MGTK. Then the opening cutscene began. I was delighted to see the old-timey animation and the smiling face of Cuphead and his friend Mugman. However, there appeared to be no prompt to continue, and I quickly began hitting every key on the keyboard to proceed. Minutes passed and I became distressed, but then I glanced up towards the screen and noticed something had changed. Cuphead was no longer bobbing up and down as was his normal looping animation. He was standing completely still, but not as though the game animation had froze. He was swaying, and I could see his chest rise and fall in an eerie, realistic way. He stared directly at the screen, almost as though he was looking through it, and directly at me. "That's weird," I said under my breath, trying to brush it off and look for a controller. Perhaps that's the issue. Perhaps that's what the issue was. I needed a controller to continue the game. I stood up from my seat and began searching for one, but as I walked away from the screen, something changed. The music stopped, and when I turned back, Mugman was gone. Only Cuphead remained, standing in the middle of the screen, staring directly at me. "What the hell?" I said, slowly approaching the screen, ready to hit the escape key. Slowly he began lowering his head, and I mashed the escape, not wanting to see what would come next. However, the escape key didn't work, neither did the Control-Alt-Delete. He tilted his head down far enough to reveal what his cup truly contained. Steeped in liquid was none other than a Harley Quinn fetus, bloated, pink, leprous, suppurating pus and vomit, its mouth opening and closing with the tide of the jostled liquid in the cup. I gasped, disgusted by what I saw on the screen before me, the fetus's vestigial arm fins flapping ineffectually in the liquid. Its head keeps it afloat, for it was bloated beyond any proportional logic, and its skin seemed to shine. I wasn't sure if it was from the broth or from the murky afterbirth pulled at its shiny flanks. A severed umbilical cord draped over the edge of the Cuphead's head, frayed like a dry rope. There's a dent atop the fetus's skull, soft, pushed inward, pressure assaulting an already malformed and undersized brain. Its eyes are blasted over with cataract. Two unnervingly blue orbs sunken into a malleable and uncannily human-like visage. As I backed up, Cuphead's eyes began rolling into his cup head, and he smiled. almost as though he was happy to see what he carried in his cup this entire time. I quickly ran to my computer power cord and pulled it, the screen flashing to an eerie black screen. I collapsed to the ground, crying for what I had just seen. Was this truly an early copy of the game? Did the developers put this in there? It looked too realistic to be drawn or even to be a 3D model. Whatever the reason was, or whatever the source, I couldn't bear to see any images of gameplay of the new Cuphead. For I, and only I, truly knew the dark secrets that reside inside. Now, while I'm sure most of you probably noticed this already, Cuphead in this mod obviously represents Sonic.exe/Xenophanes, while Miss Chalice, the Devil, and Mugman obviously represent Tails, Knuckles, and Dr. Robotnik. We see this in the way that they've been ripped apart and literally broken, just like we saw Tails, Knuckles, and Dr. Eggman in the Sonic.exe mod. Another thing that confuses people about the Cuphead creepypasta is that they think the Harley Quinn in the cup is actually Harley Quinn, like Batman and Harley Quinn, but this is obviously not true. There are breeds of ducks called Harley Quinns, there are certain dogs, I think Great Danes, that are called Harley Quinns, and there are even like old school jesters that were referred to as Harley Quinns. So there's more than just the superhero or the villain, I guess is more accurate. Now, some people have also been asking how boyfriend and girlfriend found themselves in this situation, and I think it's very similar to how they found themselves in the situation with Sonic.exe. We know boyfriend and girlfriend usually find themselves in situations where they get sucked into video games. We see this obviously in Senpai's Week in the base game. We also see it in the actual Sonic.exe mod, the Mario Madness mod, and a couple of other ones for sure. I think the only difference here is that they obviously get sucked into the actual Cuphead game where they have to fight against Cuphead.exe. Something that I do find interesting about this situation though is that girlfriend technically isn't in this mod, meaning that she didn't get sucked into this game universe with boyfriend. That can be dangerous for boyfriend because we know the only reason he was able to resist the powers of Sonic.exe is because girlfriend was able to put up her demonic barrier. But in this universe, it doesn't sound like he has this protection. So in a way, I don't even think it really matters if he wins the rap battle or not. If Cuphead.exe decides to consume or torture boyfriend, he can just have his way with him. Those of you who played the Cuphead game know just how powerful Cuphead is, and those of you who watched or played through the Indie Cross mod knows that Cuphead and boyfriend already had an altercation, and Cuphead was not even in his EXE form and was able to completely dominate boyfriend. So in this new demonic form, he will definitely be able to outmatch boyfriend fairly easily, I would imagine. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out this one where I fully go over the Mystical Crimson Morning mod, or check out this one where I go over the Cancel Sonic mod. Thanks for watching. Peace, peace.